What if Earth is not special? What if humans are just Earth's version of something every planet creates? Not exactly us, not the same face, not the same body, not the same hands, but something like us, something that learns, something that builds, something that looks up at the sky and asks the same question we do. Are we alone? For most of human history, we have imagined aliens as monsters, green skin, big eyes, flying saucers, creatures that come from the darkness of space to visit us. But what if we have been thinking about it wrong? What if aliens are not strange because they are different from humans? What if aliens are strange because they are another planet's version of humans? Imagine Earth for a second, a small blue world floating in space, covered in oceans, wrapped in air, full of animals, forests, storms, deserts, mountains, and ice. And somewhere on that planet, one species learned how to make fire, then tools, then houses, then cities, then satellites, then rockets. That species became us. But maybe that is not a one time accident. Maybe that is what living planets do. Maybe when a planet has life for long enough, one species eventually becomes the thinker, the builder, the storyteller, the one that stops just surviving and starts wondering. On Earth, that species was human, but on another world, it might be something else entirely. A different shape, a different body, a different way of seeing, a different way of speaking, but still, in its own way, human. Not human by DNA, human by role. The species that asks why, the species that makes tools, the species that changes the world around it, the species that looks at the stars and feels small. Picture a planet covered almost completely in water. No continents, no deserts, no forests, just endless ocean from one side of the world to the other. On a planet like that, the dominant species would not build houses out of wood. There might not even be trees. They would not walk through streets. There might be no streets. Their cities might float under the surface. Their tools might be made from shells, minerals, coral, or things we do not even have names for. They might not discover fire the way we did, because fire does not work underwater. So maybe their first great invention would not be flame. Maybe it would be pressure, sound, current, light. Maybe ocean humans would communicate through vibrations moving across the water. Maybe their music would travel for miles. Maybe their history would not be written on paper. It would be carved into stone beneath the waves. And when they looked up, they would not see the stars clearly. They would see light shimmering through the surface, a strange glowing ceiling above their world. To them, space might look like a myth. The sky might be something they could barely touch. And yet, one day, one of them would rise close to the surface and wonder, what is beyond that light? That would be their version of looking at the stars. Now imagine a desert planet, a world of endless heat, orange skies, red dust, giant dry valleys, days so hot that most life hides beneath the ground. On that world, the planet's version of humans would not look soft like us. They would be built to survive. Their skin, scales, or outer bodies might hold water for weeks. Their eyes might be narrow to block the dust. Their homes might be carved deep into stone where the temperature stays cool. Maybe they would not fear darkness. They would fear open daylight. Their cities might appear empty during the day, then come alive at night. Under two moons, they might gather in underground markets, trade tools, tell stories, and watch the stars from the mouths of caves. To them, water would not be normal. Water would be holy. A single lake might be treated like a temple. A rainy day might be remembered for generations. Their version of humans would be shaped by thirst, by heat, by patience, by survival. And maybe because their world is so harsh, they would learn to work together earlier than we did. Because on a desert planet, nobody survives alone for long. Now imagine a frozen planet, a world where the surface is covered in ice, the oceans are locked beneath kilometers of frozen crust, the sky is pale, the wind is deadly, nothing moves fast, nothing wastes energy. On this world, the human-like species might live underground, not because they are hiding, because the surface is almost impossible to survive. Their cities might be warm caverns beneath the ice, lit by glowing minerals, powered by heat from deep inside the planet. They might be quiet creatures, not because they have nothing to say, but because noise wastes energy. Movement wastes energy. Everything on their planet teaches them to be careful. Their version of humans might not value speed, they might value memory, planning, stillness, waiting. A child on that world might grow up learning that every step matters, every tool matters, every mistake and kill. And when they finally reach the surface and see the stars above the ice, maybe it would feel like seeing another universe. Not because they are primitive, but because their world kept the sky hidden from them. Then there could be a planet with low gravity, a world where everything is lighter. Mountains rise higher. Trees, if they exist, grow impossibly tall. Creatures can jump farther, fall slower, move like they are almost floating. The planet's version of humans might be tall and fragile, long limbs, light bones, slow movements. Their buildings might stretch upward like towers made of spiderwebs. Their sports might look like flying. Their dances might last for minutes in the air. They might not understand why we build so low to the ground. To them, Earth humans would look heavy, compressed, trapped. They might look at our bodies and think, how do they live inside all that gravity? But on a high gravity planet, everything would be opposite. The world would pull hard. Every movement would cost more. Trees would grow short and thick. Animals would stay close to the ground. Buildings would be low and strong. And the version of humans there might be short, powerful, and dense, built like living stone. Their bones would be strong. Their muscles would be huge. They might move slowly, but every movement would have force behind it. To them, jumping might seem dangerous. Climbing might be rare. Flying might feel almost impossible. Their idea of strength would not be a choice. It would be a requirement. Even their technology would be shaped by gravity. Their vehicles would be wide and heavy. Their cities would hug the ground. Their rockets would be harder to launch. Maybe it would take them much longer to reach space. Not because they are less intelligent, but because their planet holds them tighter. And then there are worlds that do not look like Earth at all. Imagine a dark planet, a world drifting far from its star, or covered in thick clouds that block the light, or orbiting a dim red sun where daylight barely exists. On that planet, eyes might not matter much. The dominant species might not see the world like we do. They might feel it, hear it, sense heat, read electricity, map their surroundings through sound, pressure, or smell. Their cities might not be bright. They might not use windows. Their art might not be visual. Maybe they create patterns in vibration. Maybe their paintings are made of temperature. Maybe their language is not spoken, but felt through the ground. If we met them, we might think they were strange, but they would think the same about us. They might wonder why we depend so much on light, why we point our faces at things to understand them, why our world is full of screens, colors, and glowing rectangles. To them, humans might seem almost blind, because we only see one small slice of reality. And this is the strange part. Every planet would shape its intelligent species differently, not just their bodies, their fears, their dreams, their religions, their inventions, their idea of beauty. A water species might dream of touching the sky. A desert species might dream of endless rain. A frozen species might dream of warmth. A low-gravity species might dream of falling. A high-gravity species might dream of flying. A dark world species might dream of light. And Earth humans? Maybe we dream of leaving. That might be our planet's fingerprint on us. We were born on a world with open skies, so we looked up. We saw the moon, then the planets, then the stars, and instead of accepting the ground beneath us, we started building ways to escape it. Maybe every version of humans does that eventually, not in the same way, not with the same machines, but with the same feeling. The feeling that there is something more. The feeling that the place you are born is not the edge of everything. That is what might connect us. Not biology, not faces, not hands, but loneliness, because maybe intelligence is not rare. Maybe the universe creates thinking beings again and again on ocean worlds, desert worlds, frozen worlds, dark worlds, heavy worlds, light worlds, but each one wakes up alone. Each one looks into space and sees silence. Each one builds myths about what might be out there. Each one wonders if it is the only mind in the universe. And that is kind of sad, because if this idea is true, then the universe might be full of life, but still full of loneliness. Billions of worlds, Billions of skies, billions of creatures asking the same question, but separated by distances so large that even light takes years to cross them. Maybe somewhere right now, on a planet we will never see, another version of humans is having the same thought. Maybe they are standing under a purple sky, or floating under an ocean surface, or listening to vibrations inside a dark cave, and maybe they are wondering about us. Not humans specifically, but others, other thinkers, other builders, other lonely creatures looking up. When we search for aliens, we often search for something completely different from us, something shocking, something monstrous, something that proves we are not alone. But maybe the most amazing discovery would not be a monster. Maybe it would be a mirror, not an exact mirror, not another Earth, not another human face, but a species that plays the same role on its world that we play on ours. A species that has families, tools, fear, curiosity, mistakes, stories. A species that wonders where it came from. A species that asks what happens after death. A species that looks at the night sky and feels both tiny and important. If we found that, would we call them aliens? Or would we recognize something familiar? Maybe alien life would not feel alien because it is too different. Maybe it would feel alien because it is almost familiar, close enough to understand, different enough to scare us, a version of us shaped by a world we could never survive. And that leads to a strange possibility. Maybe humans are not the main character of the universe. Maybe we are not the final result. Maybe we are just one example, Earth's example. Earth made oceans, forests, storms, animals, fire, and eventually us. Another planet might make ice, darkness, pressure, caves, strange senses, and eventually them. Every living world might be trying to answer the same question in a different language. What can life become? And every version of humans is one possible answer. So maybe when we search the stars, we are not really searching for aliens. Maybe we are searching for other versions of ourselves, not because we expect them to look like us, but because we hope they understand what it means to wonder, to be afraid, to build, to fail, to dream, to feel alone on a planet full of life. That might be the real connection. Not that we share the same body, but that we share the same question. Are we alone? And maybe one day the answer will come. Not as a spaceship landing in a field, not as a monster stepping out of the dark, but as a signal, a pattern, a sign that somewhere else something learned to think, something learned to speak, something looked up from its ocean, desert, ice, or darkness, and sent a message into the void. And if that day ever comes, maybe humanity will finally understand something. We were never looking for aliens. We were looking for company. Because if every planet has its own version of humans, then maybe the universe is not empty. Maybe it is full of different versions of us, all shaped by different worlds, all carrying different bodies, all telling different stories, all looking up at the same sky, and all wondering the same thing.